Old South, Tennessee's favorite home builder, is honored to be a part of the Heart of Tennessee Heroes event. We proudly salute Major General Jeffrey H. Holmes for his dedication and service to our country and to the American Red Cross. Old South and your American Red Cross, making a difference together.
Welcome to the 2021 Heart of Tennessee Heroes virtual event. Thank you for joining us for this annual celebration of community heroes. My name is Tara Stone, and I serve as the Executive Director for the Heart of Tennessee chapter of the American Red Cross. I would like to thank our presenting sponsors, Old South Properties and Video Story Productions. We appreciate all our sponsors that are supporting this event and the mission of the American Red Cross. Normally, there would be 300 of us gathered at MTSU's Student Union Building, having breakfast and enjoying great conversation. But due to the coronavirus pandemic and not being able to gather in person, we're doing something new and coming to you from a different platform. Thank you again for being with us today, supporting our chapter, our volunteers, and our mission. We have a great event planned for you today as we will hear from volunteer Mary Nichols, who's been boots on the ground for the Red Cross in Louisiana this year. We'll be joined by Heart of Tennessee board members and a past Heroes honoree. You will hear the story of a longtime blood and platelet donor, Tyler Andrews, and we will honor our 2021 Hero and Humanitarian of the Year, Major General Jeff Holmes. Now, I would like to welcome Mary Nichols, who is part of our disaster action team and is one of our 225 amazing volunteers. Mary, thank you for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And speaking of 225 volunteers, that sounds like a lot, but we're always looking for more.
Well, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to do what we do as volunteers. We, like just last week, we had 3 shelters open up in an ice storm. And then the day those closed, we had a multi-family fire in an apartment building. So, you know, that takes a lot of people. It takes maybe 8 or 10 people to do a single fire. We had maybe 7 or 8 people at the multifamily fire to take care of all those people that were displaced. So, you know, 225 may sound like a lot, but when you get going, you know, it takes a lot.
It does. And speaking of, you know, home fires and apartment fires and snowstorms, those are all things that have happened here. But throughout the year, we've seen responses locally, responses in our region, and then responses nationally. And I know that you've been part of those responses as you've deployed. Several of our volunteers have deployed this year. Can you tell us a little bit what that looked like for you as a volunteer?
Well, this past year has been kind of unique,
It has.
As everybody knows.
Yes, it has.
We started with the tornadoes in Nashville and Cookeville. And while we were kind of wrapping that up, COVID hit, and we had to shut down the shelters pretty suddenly. 3 weeks later, or 4 weeks later, we went down to Chattanooga for those tornadoes, and Red Cross had already put a lot of safety precautions, protocols into place. So when we got down to Chattanooga, we were all putting all the people in hotels, and that was the first time that had been done around the country.
It's really different.
To put people into hotels in non-congregate shelters. By Louisiana.
And why did you go? Tell everybody why you went to Louisiana.
Well, then the hurricanes hit, and you know, usually we have 1 or 2 hurricanes that require many areas to send people. Like you were saying, you know, it was more of a national response. And so when we went down to Louisiana, we went 3 times. Because we had 3 hurricanes down there.
When you went to Louisiana, did you have to move different locations? Because that was a different storm too. We had a couple of hurricanes coming in and we weren't sure what the path looked like.
That was another interesting thing that hadn't happened to me before. We went down from Marco and we started in Mobile, and you have to have the people on the ground, the Red Cross volunteers on the ground and in the location before the storm hits, because that's when the people need us, is during the storm. So we have to go ahead of the storm. And Marco was just driving us crazy because it kept moving. And so then we'd move all those volunteers, and then we'd move more volunteers. So, you know, sometimes you don't just go down and,
you can't go after it happens.
Well, we do send a lot of people
We
after
do.
it happens too, but there has to be people beforehand to be prepared. There has to be people during the storm to, bring the people in. And then there's a lot of post work for recovery. So even after the shelters are done, you still need people to work the recovery, and do the casework and help them get their lives back in order. It can take months for that to be complete, and we have to be there that whole time.
And we'll have a lot of volunteers, and they'll call us when something happens and they want to help, which is great. But with the Red Cross and the type of organization that we are and the preparedness that we need to do to open a shelter, do damage assessment, the different casework, what do you recommend for someone that wants to volunteer? Because I know that you're also involved with our training.
Well, that's why I got involved with the Red Cross. I retired from teaching. I taught for years, and I wanted to stay involved, and I wanted to keep learning. And when I got it, my sister was in the Red Cross, and she did so many of the training modules that are online now, that once you join, once you sign up, you start right in learning how to be prepared for working that first fire, which is usually where people start, or being an ambassador. You don't have to go out and work fires. Some of the things that the Red Cross volunteers do, we have no idea when they're going to happen, like a fire or a storm or a hurricane or a tornado. But there's also other things that volunteers do that are on a regular basis, where you work in the office when it's not COVID, where you work at the blood drives, because they don't stop. So there's a lot of things you can be involved in, even though we're not immediately being deployed for fires. Hopefully we won't have any more emergencies or disasters.
Right, it's definitely been a big year, nationally and locally, because you were mentioning a home fire, and just in our 10 counties, our volunteers responded to 133 disasters just locally last year. So we have the volunteers that we need here for that daily, response to be ready, those that may be within our region, which is the state of Tennessee, but then also, nationally, we had some that went to Oregon for the wildfires. Our disaster response manager, Emily, went to Oregon this year and helped with sheltering with the wildfires. And so it does take a lot of people.
And those things all happen at once sometimes. So there's single family fires that happen here, then there's the tornadoes, then there's floods, and we never know when that's going to happen. And then we had, on top of all that we had locally, we had all of the fires out in California and Oregon and out on that West Coast. It's also a really great way to meet people from all over the country who are like-minded, and enjoy being involved in the community and to give something back. That means a lot.
We appreciate your time and the teaching that you've done. I understand the first time you deployed, I think, was 2 weeks after you had joined the Red Cross.
Yeah, that was an experience.
Yes, and I understand that you said your sister volunteers and that you all got to see each other on one of your deployments. Did you not? Because she does not live here, does she?
No, she lives in Dallas, and we were actually chasing Marco. So she was coming from Dallas this way with Laura, and I was going that way with Marco, and we finally met in Baton Rouge.
We appreciate both of you and all of our volunteers, and on behalf of myself and our board of directors, really want to say thank you to yourself and all of our 225 volunteers for the time that you give to the American Red Cross. Speaking of our board of directors, I'd like to take a moment and thank them for the time, talent, and treasure they have committed to our community through serving with the Heart of Tennessee chapter of the Red Cross. I'd like to personally thank them for volunteering their time, not only through leadership on the board, but also for the additional volunteer positions many of them hold to support our staff and lines of service. Our board members lead committees made up of other community partners and leaders to move our mission forward, grow our programs, and educate the community around the services of the American Red Cross. If you are interested in serving on our committees or board, I hope that you will contact us to learn more.
Thank you for being with us. I'm joining you today to share some important information about an organization that I believe does an outstanding job of serving our community. Yes, I'm talking about the American Red Cross. Please allow me a few minutes of your time to share just how this organization helps not only our community, but communities like ours around the entire country. The American Red Cross is committed to helping communities through 5 different lines of service. Those branches include disaster relief, supporting America's military and their families, international services, collecting life-saving blood through biomedical services, and offering educational classes through health and safety services. My name is Ray Wiley, and I'm a local Red Cross board member, and I volunteer my time with teaching Red Cross classes, assisting blood services collection, and working with the disaster action team. Please allow me a few minutes to give you some real-world examples of how the Red Cross steps up to help communities in their time of need. Many years ago, I began volunteering with the Red Cross when I saw a need in my community. At that time, we needed better trained lifeguards, and we needed to work hard to reduce the drowning rate in our area by teaching people how to swim. The Red Cross stepped up and helped us accomplish both of these goals by providing health and safety training classes for lifeguarding and new swim instructors in water safety. Over the past 25 years at the Campus Recreation Center at MTSU, I've seen firsthand examples of how this life-saving training can help save lives. Thanks to the Red Cross, our student staff were trained and prepared to recognize when an actual emergency existed and to respond appropriately and successfully using their CPR and AED skills to save 2 lives. Additionally, I'm grateful that my employer, Middle Tennessee State University, strives to be well prepared to address many different types of emergencies. In the fall of 2008, because of our longtime partnership and the disaster training provided by the American Red Cross, we were ready and able to successfully open a temporary Red Cross shelter for 447 citizens from New Orleans that were fleeing from Hurricane Gustav. Because of our planning and training, we were ready to offer our help to others in need. For the past 11 years, MTSU has successfully partnered with the American Red Cross to help collect large amounts of blood at its annual blood drives. The Red Cross is committed to collecting blood products so that hospitals are better prepared to meet our needs of a growing community. Finally, the Heart of Tennessee chapter is supported by 225 amazing volunteers who gave over 21,000 hours of their time to serve our community last year. They responded to 133 disasters in our 10-county chapter. They assisted 175 families, more than 475 children were taught preparedness and safety skills through our Pillowcase project program. Over 1,000 service members and their families were supported in conjunction with the Hero Care Network through emergency communication services, financial assistance programs, reintegration, and veteran services. The American Red Cross is approaching its 140th year of service. Please join me in sharing and supporting the mission of the American Red Cross by offering a generous gift of your time or your money or both so that they can continue to meet the needs of others in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. We are grateful for your leadership as well as for our long-standing partnership with MTSU. At this time, I would like to take a look back on our past hero honorees. This is our 9th year of celebration, as it all started with the recognition of Bob Mifflin. Since his challenge to the public in his 2013 speech to become a hero to someone who needs a strong role model by becoming active in organizations like the Red Cross, we have gone on to honor Andy Womack, an Army veteran, former state senator, and member of the Tennessee Insurance Hall of Fame who knows firsthand about helping disaster survivors. In 2015, Gordon Ferguson was honored for his longtime support of the community and the Red Cross. He continues to lead our healthcare heroes at Ascension St. Thomas Rutherford as president and CEO. Dr. Liz Ray, a well-known local philanthropist, was honored in 2016. She told those in attendance that day that she can't accomplish anything by herself, but we can make the world a better place to live by each one contributing something. In 2017, former State Representative John Hood was honored as our 5th Humanitarian Award winner for his many years of service to our community. You can keep up with John Hood by following his Murfreesboro Storytellers program online. Dr. Sidney McPhee was our 6th honoree, recognized for his years of disaster response support through his leadership at MTSU. McPhee and his team have collected blood on campus, raised funds to support disaster survivors, and personally delivered goods to areas devastated by hurricanes. In 2019, we had 2 honorees, Dr. Sherry and Russ Galloway of Middle Tennessee Emergency Physicians. The Galloways are longtime supporters of the Red Cross who are involved in multiple nonprofit social service agencies throughout the community. Our most recent honoree, Joey P., is the CEO of Murfreesboro Medical Clinic and a former Heart of Tennessee chapter board chair. He led the chapter through the Good Friday tornado in Rutherford County and in fundraising for the chapter's current location on Memorial Boulevard. Back with us today to introduce our 2021 hero is our 2015 honoree, Gordon Ferguson.
It's a privilege to be here today to introduce the 2021 Heart of Tennessee Humanitarian Award winner. This year's honoree, Major General Jeff Holmes, is a resident of Las Casas, Tennessee, and has over 40 years of service in the military, while also owning and leading a successful architectural firm. He served as an Armored Cavalry Squadron commander in Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2004, and again as the regimental commander in Iraq in 2010. With the 278th Armored Cavalry Regiment, Major General Holmes' national level positions include serving as the Deputy Chief of Engineering in the Pentagon and Deputy Commanding General for the 1st Army, an Army-level command with the responsibility for assisting the Commanding General with the training, readiness, and mobilization of all Army National Guard and Army Reserve units across the United States and 2 U.S. territories. Major General Holmes' experience in military support for civilian authorities during state and national declarations of emergencies include commanding deployed Tennessee National Guard forces in support of relief efforts from Hurricane Gustav in 2008 and coordinating federal military response to Hurricane Sandy in 2012. Major General Holmes was sworn in as Tennessee's 76th Adjutant General by Governor Lee in January of 2019. He is the commander of Tennessee's military department, which includes over 15,000 personnel in the Army National Guard, Air National Guard, the Tennessee Management Agency, and the Tennessee State Guard. Major General Jeff Holmes is a husband, father of 3, and a grandfather. It is my honor to present this award to Tennessee's 76th Adjutant General, Major General Jeff Holmes.
Gordon, first of all, I want to say thank you for presenting this award, and thanks to the Red Cross, all the members, volunteers, the complete organization. And Gordon, you know, we've known each other ever since you came to Murfreesboro. I appreciate our relationship we've had over the years. And I will just say that it's just really, truly an honor to accept this award. And I realize that I get probably recognition that I don't deserve in the position that I am. I know that over 12,000 of our soldiers and airmen and State Guard have a truly, truly great partnership with the Red Cross. So if I may, I want to accept this award on all of their behalf. It's truly a great partnership. I would say, unfortunately, seen each other a lot in the past 10 months, but it is comforting to know that the Red Cross is always there with us in all of these many challenging events. So thank you very much, and it's truly an honor.
Hi everybody, I'm Nick Parangipe with Video Story Productions. We are proud to be one of the presenting sponsors for another year for the American Red Cross Heart of Tennessee chapter. I've had the pleasure of being involved with the Heroes Breakfast as MC the past 3 years. This year, obviously, things are a bit different, but we're still making this happen. We're thrilled to assist the Red Cross in producing this entire virtual event through our company, Video Story Productions. Now, I want to introduce you to a very special volunteer. His name is Tyler Andrews. He and his wife, along with their 4 children, live in Murfreesboro. Tyler has spent countless hours in this donation center in Murfreesboro, and over the years, he has given nearly 20 gallons of blood. When it's time to go to work, Tyler Andrews of Murfreesboro walks out to his backyard.
This is my office. It's just a fancy shed in my backyard.
Inside his 160 square foot fancy shed, Tyler works on editing the masterful images he's captured through his lens. Tyler is a professional photographer, and his clients include some big names in the commercial and entertainment world. He's been taking pictures since he was a teenager.
My senior year for Christmas, my dad gave me my first camera, and it had been his camera. It was an Nikon EL. Between that Christmas and the end of that summer, I shot somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 rolls of film. Mostly something that you fear with your daughter.
Besides photography, another passion of Tyler's is podcasting. He has his own podcast called But Enough About Me, where he interviews interesting people from the area.
It's been an intense day for everyone, I think.
Guests come in and share their life story.
My natural bent is toward a lack of compassion, drove me to start looking for ways to try and develop that. And I discovered that I am far more compassionate when I know someone's story.
It's confusing. Tyler would think he lacks compassion when he routinely donates to the Heart of Tennessee chapter of the American Red Cross. He began donating blood when he was frustrated he couldn't give back financially. One day, he was donating blood next to a man who was doing the same thing. The only difference, the man next to him was a multimillionaire. And that's when it clicked for Tyler.
Sitting on the bench, donating blood, and looking over and realizing that my blood donation was every bit as valuable as the other guys. And there was literally nothing that I could have done to make that donation more valuable in that moment than exactly what I was doing or coming a second time.
Tyler goes once a month to the local Red Cross and donates platelets, which are cells in the blood that form clots and stop bleeding. Platelets are essential for people with traumatic injuries, chronic diseases, and cancer. Donating platelets is personal, starting with his mom.
A 51-year-old vegan, developed advanced stage 4 breast cancer, and she needed platelets a couple years after that. My father-in-law had a blood cancer, and he needed platelets. And then my sister-in-law had a blood cancer, and she needed platelets. A million different ways that I see people helping at the Red Cross every time I'm there, including answering the phones, or taking my temperature and making sure I don't have COVID before I come in, or people bring food by all of the time. Because this is something that is necessary for the preservation of life, there really aren't any small actions. It's all life-saving.
Thank you, Tyler. We appreciate you sharing your story with us. What an amazing gift you and all of our blood donors give to save the lives of so many. With Tyler close to hitting the 20-gallon mark in blood donations, those 20 gallons have the potential to save 480 lives. Last year, over 15,000 blood donations were made throughout the 10 counties of the Heart of Tennessee chapter. 4 months of that, however, was the unfolding of the pandemic when we began experiencing blood drive cancellations as schools and businesses began to close. We would like to thank our blood drive sponsor partners that allowed us the use of their facilities, our blood donors, and the Red Cross staff for their dedication to the life-saving mission through blood collection. The Red Cross continues to test all donations for COVID-19 antibodies and would like to encourage donors that have them to consider donating convalescent plasma to helping patients battling this disease. Serving on the front line of this pandemic with our local health department, I have seen the effects that COVID-19 has had on our community. As the interim public health county director, I am truly honored to partner and work alongside so many wonderful people to execute points of distribution, data collection, and local logistics for COVID-19 testing and vaccinations. While COVID-19 may have changed the way that we go about our daily lives, it has not changed the fact that disasters happen. People continue to experience home fires, hurricanes, wildfires, and most recently, we have seen the damage of winter snow and ice storms, which have devastated communities. The Red Cross continues to respond, and today I'm asking you to be a part of that response. First, you can help those in need of Red Cross services by signing up to volunteer. Opportunities are available for in-person positions as well as virtual. Second, you can support the response of the Red Cross by making a financial contribution. And finally, the Red Cross depends on the generosity of donors to carry out the mission. And like Tyler, you too can help donate blood. I truly believe in the Heart of Tennessee chapter of the American Red Cross and everything that it stands for, as I'm a firm believer that alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. Thank you.
It is time to meet our hero. He has been serving our country for 40 years and is currently the leader of the Tennessee National Guard. In fact, we are coming to you from the command conference room inside the Joint Force headquarters in Nashville. This is where a lot of very important decisions are made, and the man making most of those decisions is Major General Jeffrey H. Holmes. Well, General Holmes, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And I gotta say, this is somewhat intimidating, just standing in this command conference center, because a lot of decisions, as I just said, are made here. What are some of the latest decisions that were made? Obviously, I can take one guess, and that would be the pandemic.
Right. Well, it has been used quite a bit in the past 10, going on 11 months. And when the pandemic really started to take hold, we looked for a place for the governor to have updates every morning, and with the unified command group that the governor created. This is in a good proximity to his residence. It's secure, a lot of comms ability. So we met here, I would say at least 3.5, probably close to 4 months, every day, 7 days a week, right here in this room. So there was a lot of decisions that were made here.
I'll bet. Well, congratulations on receiving the 2021 Heroes Award, Humanitarian Award by the American Red Cross, Heart of Tennessee chapter. What does this mean to you? What does this award mean to you? You have many accolades. What does this one mean to you?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is undeserving. And I do really want to accept the award and have accepted the award on behalf of all our young men and women who I have the honor of serving with. They're the heroes, and all the volunteers for the organization, they're the heroes. So I just want to accept it for them. It's a great partnership. The Red Cross means so much to so many people in times of need, and we have the privilege and honor of working side by side on many occasions.
Now, your first encounter with the Red Cross was what, some 30 years ago? You were a platoon leader. Tell us about that story.
Well, that was 32 years ago, and I was a young platoon leader, and I was on maneuvers in the southern part of Mississippi out in the woods well before cell phone service. And my wife, Rhonda, was expecting our second child, Leah, and we thought we were safe because it was like 30 days from the due date, and Rhonda has a habit of having all 3 of our children exactly 30 days early. But I got a call. I was on the tank range with my platoon, and we were conducting live fire exercises, and I get a call on my platoon radio from our headquarters and stating that I had a Red Cross message and I needed to move to the landing pad, and I flew out of there on a helicopter, ultimately came civilian flight that very day, made it to the hospital and got to witness the birth of my second child. And that would have not happened if the Red Cross had not executed their Red Cross message.
Yeah. Red Cross obviously has been very special to you over the years. Tell me a little bit about the relationship between the Tennessee National Guard and the American Red Cross and how you guys work together.
Well, it's really a great relationship, and I would say unfortunately we've had to really be side by side on many occasions, from the tornadoes on March the 3rd, subsequently 2 tornadoes, the pandemic. All of those incidents, we found ourselves side by side with the Red Cross. And I'm really amazed at the ability of the Red Cross to rapidly mobilize. We pride ourselves on kind of riding to the sound of the guns, in this case, riding to the incident area. And most of the time when we get there, the Red Cross is already there. I think the way that they are able to mobilize their equipment, their trailers, their shelters, their volunteers, is something that would be envious to most corporations.
Have you ever been part of a year like this? I mean, like you mentioned, 2 tornadoes. You've got the pandemic going on. You had what happened at the Capitol, the nation's capital, and you deployed many of the Tennessee National Guard members there. Just the chaos that came with this year. Like you said, you can't wait to get back to normalcy. We don't know what that looks like yet, but have you ever been through anything like this?
Not in the homeland. We deploy pretty regularly to some pretty austere locations, but that's an environment that's unique to that area. Never within our borders of the United States. And then the complexity of the missions, the uncertainty with just going through the periods of time when there wasn't enough PPE or test swabs, things like that, and trying to get people to come out and get tested. One of the metrics that we were using early on was the ability to test large portions of the population to track the spread. The uncertainty of getting all that in the right spot. And every month really brought a different challenge. So it was, I don't know, never. I think we look at the mobilization of our National Guard, even across all the continental United States, and here in Tennessee, it's not since World War II, very easily. Not since World War II have we mobilized the extent and to the duration that we've now been mobilized.
You've been part of the military, 40 years or so?
Right.
What got you interested in the military?
I had an uncle that served in Vietnam, was drafted in Vietnam, and I remember I was old enough to know, when he deployed, and he was in the 7th Cavalry, and I remember that when he got back and he went through some pretty rough missions. I remember he was one of 12 brothers and sisters, so I remember the family getting together, anticipating him coming home and all the nervousness of his, deployment. And I remember when he got back, and he was just my hero. He was something that I wanted to be. He was an E5, and he got back and kind of reintegrated with life, got his law degree, became a successful lawyer practicing in Jackson, Tennessee. And I just wanted to be like him. And I wanted to see if I had what it took to be that.
Obviously, it worked out pretty well.
a lot of luck.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. You live in Las Casas, Tennessee, just outside of Murfreesboro. Wife, 3 kids?
Yes.
And 1 grandchild and 1 on the way.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
You also ran a very successful architecture business. Tell me a little bit about that.
It was, I know this is not what our youth do now, but when I got my first job, I stayed there for 28 years.
What?
Good thing of the past, I know. And I started there right out of college, right out of the University of Tennessee, and stayed there for 28 years. Ultimately became the president of the firm. Had a lot of great projects, a lot of great experiences, great partners. We had 10 partners. And the second deployment, I realized, and these deployments would last anywhere from 18 months to 24 months. So that was time I was away from the firm. And they were so gracious in accommodating that, picking up the load when I wasn't there. But I knew it was something I was not going to ask them to continue to do. So I thought the best course of action for me was to sell my stock and just start my own firm, sole practitioner. So if I deployed, and as I deployed, I didn't have anybody there depending on me in my absence. So it was all perfect timing, and I still enjoy architecture. I still catch myself sketching. I don't know how many different plans I've done for different additions to my house, and I'll do that again someday. Architecture is a passion of mine. I really have never worked a day in my life getting to do architecture.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your service to our country, and congratulations on winning the 2021 Heroes Award by the American Red Cross Heart of Tennessee chapter. I'll give you one of these.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Let's do one of these.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's send it back over to Murfreesboro and Tara Stone.
Thank you, Nick, and congratulations, General Holmes. We thank you and the men and women that serve with you for your service to our country, and we thank you for your support of the American Red Cross. A big thank you to our presenting sponsors, Old South Properties and Video Story Productions, and to all of our sponsors supporting today's event. To learn more about the American Red Cross, how to volunteer, donate blood, or to make a financial contribution, you can visit www.redcross.org, and we hope you will follow us on social media. On behalf of the Heart of Tennessee Board of Directors, staff, and volunteers, thank you for being with us today and for your support of our mission to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors.